We just like the Honda, and whenever we tried other vehicles, none of them, it just has so many features that other vehicles don't have, other brands. We test drove probably, gosh, 6 or 7 other vehicles total. We drove the Chrysler Pacifica, the Dodge Grand Caravan, the Sienna too, the Toyota. We test drove that too, and then we test drove a Tahoe, a Ford Explorer, the Lexus SUV, and then a 4Runner also. Toyota. So yeah, quite a few, quite a range. But you know, none of them. Oh, and we also even considered the Honda Pilot as well too. The third row. We wanted to make sure we had a third row. With having 3 boys, growing boys, we knew that they needed some legroom, and a lot of those didn't have, the SUVs didn't have the legroom and have the trunk space. That was my biggest thing too, is I have to go to the grocery store and get lots of food for those growing boys, and I'd have no room for groceries and them. So this had plenty of space for groceries and sports equipment and the children too. The brand, I think Honda still has that name that everybody says they last forever. They just keep running. No matter how many miles. I mean, just the history that I have with my other Honda Odyssey, I just never had an issue with it. I had it for, well, 8 years. I had it for 8 years. Never had an issue. Never had any problems with it other than just having to do your typical, you know, tires and oil changes. I had no other problems with it. I think there was like 180,000. Yeah. And I never had to put really anything into it other than just your typical maintenance. We wanted to still stick with the Honda because our experience has been good. And, you know, I like the look of the vehicle. I like the sportiness of it. Even though it's a minivan, it still has a little sporty look to it. Like I said, I like that it's still lower to the ground, that I don't feel like I'm in a huge SUV. And the kids can get in and out all by themselves. I don't have to worry about climbing back there to get them to fuss with seats or seat belts or anything. And they can, you know, obviously, as you saw, they can get all their equipment in and out of there, and I can still fit plenty more stuff, plenty more things in there. So the space and the comfort of traveling. Like I said, we've already taken a 14-hour trip in it to Arizona and didn't, you know, no aches and pains from sitting in the seats for long. The kids didn't complain other than your typical, are we there yet? You know, but they had their own space, and they were able to watch movies if they wanted to. They were able to get comfortable. So, yeah. I mean, all those things combined, there's a lot to offer. I was torn between the Odyssey and the Pilot. So, it actually, the vehicles, after seeing all those cars, I narrowed it down to the Honda Pilot and the Honda Odyssey. So, and I was torn. I couldn't figure out which one I wanted. But when it came down to it, because the Pilot still I looked at the third row and I liked that, but when it came down to it, the trunk space sold me. The trunk space was really the biggest thing, having the separate seats and the trunk space and the sliding doors too. You know, that's so big when you have kids getting in and out by themselves, so they're not dinging other cars. when you're in a parking lot. You know, they're not going to ding other vehicles by just shoving that door wide open, you know, since the doors just slide. They're not thinking of the car next to you. They're thinking of wherever they're trying to go, practice or school or wherever. So